Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff I Never Told You, production of iHeartRadio.
And we are kicking Disability Pride Month off. Yes, y'all. July 1st, we have begun with a bang for our activists around the world and doing it a bit different because we want to talk about a reintroduced bill from California Representative Jimmy Panetta and the woman who inspired this act, Lori Long, which is titled the Marriage Equality for Disabled Adults Act. So if you want more information, you can actually go take a listen to our past episode that Anney led on about marriage and disability, which we do mention Representative Panetta and his bill when he first introduced it. But, it's time for an update. And I'm not going to tell you much because there's not much of an update except for the fact that he reintroduced it because it just kind of sat there. So all that to say, let's talk about Lori Long, a disabled woman who resides in California. She met her partner, Mark, when she was in her 40s. And it was during this relationship she was able to make it through all the trials and tribulations that is called dating. If you know, you know. And surviving that, they knew they wanted to be married and spend their lives together as a married couple. But of course, because we can't have nice things and people are not allowed to have autonomy, they knew this would be complicated, especially with her disability benefits. Literally, she would lose it. Benefits that she has received since she was a child due to her autoimmune condition known as ankylosing spondylitis. As we talked about before, benefits like DAC or Disabled Adult Child and SSI would be eliminated due to the marriage penalty. This is from a 2024 article written in today.com about Long Story. Shout out to them because I'm going to quote them a little bit. The policies regulating disabled adult children only allow for marriage if someone marries another adult disabled child or someone receiving Social Security because of disability or retirement. Avala says, who was a contributor. If they marry someone who does not receive DAC or SSI, they lose their benefits. Yeah, and it isn't just these benefits specifically, but also their Medicaid could be at risk as well. So we wanted to note that. And here's a bit from their interview and article about Long. They say, growing up, Long was diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis, an autoimmune condition that causes inflammation in the joints and the spine. According to the National Institute of Arthritis and Musculoskeletal and Skin Diseases, it causes pain and stiffness as people lose flexibility in their spine. People with it often develop problems with their gut, skin conditions, eye diseases, and even bladder problems. It affects my daily life and daily activities, Long says. We talked about in our episode, not many people understand about these restrictions or that it even exists. Going back to this article, they say, so few people understand the restrictions on marriage that when Long called her local Social Security office to check if she would lose her benefits, the person who answered the phone inaccurately reassured her. They told me, oh, honey, of course you can get married. You're not going to suddenly become not disabled when you get married, Long recalls. After chatting with a friend, she called back and asked for a specialist in the marriage rules. She said, oh, I'm so sorry. They must have not realized your status. If it's regular Social Security disability insurance, you can marry whoever you want and keep your disability insurance and healthcare, Long says. But if you're a disabled adult child on a parent's work record, you're limited as to who you can marry. And by the way, all of this includes the fact that when she was a child being diagnosed, her father's insurance dropped her. So they were like, what's going on? And had to apply for it anyways. So not only did they try to take care of it on their own insurance, they were not allowed. And by the way, it was illegal at the time, but no one cared. No one really stood up for their rights. Again, we talk a lot about this in this episode that was previously recorded. Anney did all that research. Thank you very much. And with the restrictions and roadblocks, Long had the courage to contact her then local congressperson, Rep. Panetta. Now, I think she also contacted her local state congressperson, but they were like, no, this is bigger than just the local. We need this to be federal. So they went higher up. So Long has been rallying and advocating for herself at the same time as trying to get this done through federal policies and with a disabled community. She actually talks about how she wishes she didn't have to, but she literally does not know what else to do because it has impeded her life, essentially. And again, from today.com, they write, in September 2023, Long helped organize a rally, a mass commitment ceremony that took place in Washington, D.C. Participants called attention to the restrictions disabled people face and advocated for marriage equality. I said, we need to start having protests out in front of the Capitol and have a mock ceremony, Long says. It was a great ceremony. We had a lot of wonderful people there. Love that. Kudos. So it was on Valentine's Day of this year, 2025, that Rep. Panetta reintroduced the bill. So from his site, panetta.house.gov, they write, under current law, DAC beneficiaries, more than 1 million Americans with lifelong disabilities, lose their Social Security and Medicaid benefits if they marry a non-disabled person. This antiquated rule strips individuals of their financial and healthcare security simply because they wish to build a life with their partner. The Marriage Equality for Disabled Adults Act would repeal this unjust penalty and ensure that disabled individuals are not punished for choosing to marry. Which, by the way, the right has been pushing everybody, y'all need to get married. But we know it's about eugenics, so moving on. And in that site, he is quoted with this. No Americans should have to choose between their happiness and their health care, said Rep. Panetta. By reintroducing this legislation, we are standing up for the fundamental right to marry without fear of losing essential benefits. Every person, no matter their circumstances, deserves the dignity and freedom to build a life with their needed benefits and the person they love. And by the way, he does lean into like everyone, equal marriage, love is love type of thing. So just in case you were wondering. The act includes several key provisions. Again, from his site, one, eliminates the requirement that a DAC beneficiary remain unmarried to receive Social Security benefits. 2, ensures that DAC benefits are not revoked upon marriage. 3, modifies Social Security's rules regarding common law marriages, which, by the way, we talked about. 4, protects SSI and Medicaid eligibility for DACs who marry a non-disabled person. So, of course, Long is hopeful and is waiting. Here's a quote provided to MontereyCountyNow.com, who, by the way, writes a few things about her and really, really is behind her and supports her. She says, it feels like the world is going full on chaotic, and taking time to celebrate love may seem silly or even a little selfish, Long says by text. That having been said, matters of the heart continue to matter, even though many in the disability community feel like we have front row seats to the chaos. So obviously she's talking about the many layers and layers that has happened of which their rights are being just trampled on a constant basis. But this has been something that needed to be fixed from jump. Let's just be real honest. And I know, again, Anney had some amazing research. Listeners who have sent this in as a request, we know that y'all have been following this closely. We thank you again for bringing stuff like this to our attention because this is the intersectionality of it all. We need to have this conversation. And also kudos to the representative who is trying to push this forward and not allowing it just to sit.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, listeners, for bringing this to our attention and all kinds of resources that you send us. Please keep that coming. If you would like to contact us, you can email us at hello@stuffwhatevertoldyou.com. You can find us on Blue Sky at Mom Stuff Podcast or on Instagram and TikTok at Stuff Whatever Told You. We're also on YouTube, and we have a book you can get wherever you get your books. Thanks as always to our super producer Christina, our executive producer Maya, and our contributor Joey.
Thank you.
And thanks to you for listening. Stuff Never Told You is production by iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, you can check out the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, wherever you listen to your favorite shows.